here. Just to shake loose some of the material, you can see the oyster shell here. This is functioning as a sub-base underneath a rather thick amount of asphalt concrete. The original pavement was approximately 8 inches of asphalt concrete, and we have approximately 4 inches of overlay on top of that. So indeed, it was just serving as something to help stabilize the material underneath for the placement of the asphalt concrete, and therefore probably should be considered to be acceptable for use in this study. Looking down the hole now from the side of it, we see we've got a total thickness of asphalt concrete of approximately 12 inches, maybe slightly more than that. Move on up with the camera and look down the hole. We've got the sunlight here. Get my shadow out of the way. We'll zoom in on this just to try to show what it looks like. It appears to be impractical looking down this augured hole to be able to distinguish between the original asphalt concrete pavement and the overlay pavement. You can easily see the distinction between the asphalt concrete and the subbase underneath it. And judging from that and from the plan thicknesses, as we noted before, it's probably safe to assume that this wouldn't change cells, even though the thicknesses may be off slightly from what was shown. That's something which we may be able to distinguish better from getting cores. And that's something which can be done when the sampling crews come out here to sample this, as it will for all the GPS test sections. Backed off here from the second borehole, looking back down the test section, you can see that we have a nice tangent section here. Back preceding us, south of us, we've got a curve off to the left as you're going in the direction of travel, and then it straightens out here. We've got a lot of sight distance here for use in terms of setting up traffic control and for safety purposes and so on. Looks like a good test section to use with a couple of possible questions throughout. We'll try to check some more and see if we can locate any information of the condition prior to overlay and see whatever information they have available. May have to check with the Field Division office in Mobile about that. Comments on test section 16019 to summarize. First of all, in doing the test holes, we noticed that rather than having a sandy clay subgrade, we have a more predominantly sand subgrade material here, which would change the cell classification for this particular test section. One thing that I will be doing is to be checking in the factorial, which has been prepared and is available to us, to see just what cell it would fall into and whether anything is represented in that cell or not. Number two, it was impossible to verify with any confidence what the overlay thickness was. It was impossible to see, looking down in the hole, the distinction between the overlay material and the previously existing asphalt concrete. We were able to get a feel for the total thickness of the asphalt concrete, including the overlay, and it checked out pretty well with what was expected, all total between the original pavement and the overlay. I think in that case it's safe to assume that the overlay thickness was similar to what it was shown, and it would fall into the same cell for classification purposes from that standpoint. Again, it would be in a different cell from a subgrade standpoint, be representing a different level to be considered of subgrade type as opposed to what it was picked for. The last comment has to do with the soil aggregate layer underneath, which is serving as a subbase. So it is identified on the candidate project selection data form as a subbase. They're showing a zero granular base here, and then a 5-inch layer of soil aggregate subbase. And what it is, it's just an oyster shell mixed in with probably the native sandy soil here, because the soil included in that was a reddish color similar to that which we saw underneath there when we got into the subgrade. These things will have to be considered before this is identified as a good and true test section. Just wanting to note these things now, and I'll be advising Stan Armstrong of these things as we get into Mobile this evening. This ends the video for test section 16019 on Interstate 65. test section begins at approximate milepost 41.8, which means that it's that distance north of the interchange between I-65 and I-10. We're in Baldwin County, Alabama, in the southern part of the state.